Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hari Bola Meher. So let us start with the prayers. Hari Bola. Yeah. While the others are gathering. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Kesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutisham Paravaramsa Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutisham Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste. Kam Karudi Vacharam Pangum Nandete Girim Yatpa Padamaham Vande Shri Guru Adhavam Shri Hari Om. Hare Krishna. So, I'd like to welcome all the devotees. So, we are currently at the conclusion of the Chaitra Navaratri, and the Chaitra Navaratri culminates in the celebration of Sri Rama Navami. So there are multiple Navaratris in the year. The more popular one is the one which culminates in Dasara, which comes closer to or just before the Deepavali season. But this is the first Navaratri of the year. So today is the 9th night and tomorrow is the Ram Navami. So of course we offer our obeisances to Mother Durga, who is the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is also considered as the Lord's sister. In Krishna Lila also, when Durga Devi appeared, Lord instructed that you'll be considered like my sister. So Durga Devi is the mother of the material manifestation. And the ultimate source of Durga Devi, of course, as we all know, is Srimati Radharani. It's the original mother, the direct consort of the Godhead. So we offer our obeisances to Mother Durga and seek her blessings to be good children. So Durga Devi is, in a very simplified way, she is Radharani, who has come as a shadow potency in the material world to punish the naughty children. So that's why she's carrying a trident. Anyway, so that's a different subject matter. We usually discuss our Chaitanya Charitamrita Pravaha, our summary study, usually on a Wednesday, but today, since we are on the eve of Rama Navami, thought we will offer our time and attention to discuss something about the beautiful pastimes of Sri Ramachandra in preparation for the wonderful festivities tomorrow. So tomorrow is the Ram Navami festival. Just so that in case you're not aware, generally for Ram Navami festival, we will fast until noon, preferably a full fast, and then we break our fast with grains. It's not necessary to observe Ekadashi fast. Prabhupada instilled the practice of breaking fast with grains on Ram Navami day. Those who are in Kuala Lumpur, in and around, program in the temple is the evening. So you can join, and in your respective places, please see where there is a program. In many places, because it's a weekday, the temple for practical reasons may choose to celebrate in the evening, even though traditionally the festival by itself is an afternoon festival. But of course, for practical reasons, if devotees are at work, then it's more convenient to do an evening festival, which is what most temples will do. Also, so that I do not forget, there is Ekadashi on Saturday, but because of a mixed tithi, the fasting observation of Ekadashi is on Sunday. So at least in Kuala Lumpur, fasting is on Sunday. I am not sure about India. I think also India is probably the same on Sundays.
India is on Saturday, Prabhuji.
India is on Saturday. Okay.
Yeah, and the fasting, the fast breaking is very late. It's after 10:50 on Sunday.
Okay. So later you can share the Parana timings as well.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So thank you, Amit. So in KL, it is the fasting is on Sunday, and on Saturday we are observing the Vyas Puja of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So there'll be a grain feast at noon. That's what I understand. So those who are in KL, you're invited to, on behalf of the temple and the disciples, everybody is invited to participate if you can. So these are some of the festivals and celebrations which are lined up over the next few days. So Ram Navami tomorrow, then Ekadashi fasting, Saturday or Sunday, and Vyas Puja of Jayapataka Maharaj, which is on the Ekadashi Tithi celebrated, is on Saturday here in Kuala Lumpur. So as I mentioned, we will be discussing something about Lord Sri Ramchandra's pastimes. Lord Sri Ramchandra's pastimes are actually so vast, so not just vast, but also so sweet and so inspiring. So I was thinking what I should speak in one class. And there is a whole itihas comprised of thousands of shlokas. But anyway, the intention of my class today is more of a preparation of meditation on Lord Ramchandra's Lila. It's a preparation for tomorrow. We can always draw our maximum benefit of the respective tithis if we absorb our consciousness in the name, form, Lila of the personality whose festival we are observing. So I thought we will do a quick overview of Ramayana. So we have 50 minutes. Entire Ramayana in 50 minutes. So let us see how well we do. in this small endeavor. Again, we will not be covering a lot of details, but this is just to bring back memories of those beautiful pastimes. Then I hope you all can go deeper by reading, hearing, studying all these pastimes tomorrow and thereafter. So Lord Ramchandra is a very, very prominent form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Perhaps in India, of course, even though we do not have a clear statistics, Shri Krishna and Shri Ramchandra are the most popular deities. And Ramchandra, Lord Ramchandra, is especially popular because of his very unique personality. And the Lord's unique personality is defined by this very beautiful phrase, which is Maryada Purushottama. Purushottama means the Supreme Person. Normally, the Supreme Person is expected to be without any bounds and without any rules and limits, like Krishna Chandra, who is Purna Purushottam. But when the same Lord, even with that full power, with a full beauty, Ramchandra is also extremely, extremely beautiful. It is said the opulence of beauty is manifested fully in the form of Ramchandra. Extremely beautiful. But in this particular form, the Lord, by his own sweet will, puts on himself the restrictions of Maryada. Maryada means the restrictions of the rules of proper conduct. Usually, rules of conduct apply only to conditioned souls. Doesn't apply to God. Because the Lord is the complete owner, proprietor, enjoyer of everything. Rules are for us because we are trapped in the illusion of material existence. But in this form of Sri Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performs the Lila of Maryada Purushottam to set for us the example of how an ideal human being should behave. And he has set such a wonderful example that even though he appeared in Treta Yuga, even up to today, and it will continue for many, many thousands of years in the future, the example of Sri Ramachandra is quoted not just among saintly people, but within households as the benchmark of perfect behavior, as the epitome of strength, but simultaneously the epitome of restraint and self-control. Lord Ramchandra is famous as the personality who displayed an ideal behavior in all roles during his manifest pastime. An ideal son, start with, an ideal brother, an ideal husband, an ideal king, an ideal friend, and also an ideal enemy. So even if one thinks, so who can be the best possible enemy? So even that is the Supreme Lord. We don't have time to discuss why, otherwise we'll go off the topic. But Lord Ramchandra set that kind of an example through his own personal behavior. That's why even after thousands of years, his qualities are discussed, chanted, glorified. If a husband and wife are seen as a very exemplary couple, people say, oh, they are a couple like Sita Ram. If somebody is a very good ruler, so he rules like Ram, or his kingdom is like Ram Rajya. Ram Rajya is the epitome of what a state should be. That is the benchmark. If two brothers are very, very close, then people say, oh, these two brothers are like Ram and Lakshman, or like Ram and Bharat, depending on the nature of the relationship. Lord Ramchandra was also the ideal master. Hanumanji came in front of him as the servant. So Lord Ramchandra's appearance has been a great benediction for all of us, not only in the form of giving us the darshan of his wonderful, beautiful, transcendental form, holding this very beautiful bow, but also through his personal example, leaving so many examples of ideal behavior for all of us to follow. Principles of religion are best understood when there are examples for us to actually hear about stories, episodes, how a particular principle was applied. It's so much easier. And that is one of the reasons why the Lord appears. The Lord not just instructs dharma, but he lives dharma. Sure. Ramchandra did that. Even the Lord as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's primary purpose in appearance was to demonstrate the life of an ideal human. Ramchandra's purpose was to demonstrate the life of an ideal human. Krishna's purpose was to demonstrate who he himself is in his original form. The unbounded, original, Purna Purushottam Bhagavan, the attractor of everyone. So the Lord has different purposes for different appearances. So in the next half an hour or 40 minutes, I'm going to achieve this feat of covering the entire Ramayana. Ram willing, at least the high level. So the pastimes of Sri Ramchandra happened in the Treta Yuga. The Ramayana is compiled by Valmiki Rishi. We will not go into the story of Valmiki Rishi, but we all know how he was initially a sinful person, but was delivered by the mercy of Narad Muni. Narad Muni is that very great, amazing personality. He's in our line, our Acharyas, who has delivered so many individuals. So Valmiki Rishi, he wrote the Ramayana. The Ramayana was first taught to the sons of Lord Ramchandra himself, Love and Kush, who first recited the Ramayana, public recital, in front of Lord Ramchandra himself. So anyway, that's a very interesting episode from the concluding part of the Lord's pastimes. But actually it is narrated as the first part, because that's how the narration of Ramayana began. Ramayana begins with Love and Kush narrating the Ramayana, and Lord Ram, Lakshman, Sita is not there. Bharat, Shatrugna listening to the Ramayana, and the Prajas listening to the Ramayana in Ayodhya. So anyway, that's a very beautiful story. So the pastimes of Ramachandra go like this. In the kingdom of Koshala, there was a very great king by the name of Dasharath, very, very powerful, of the Ikshvaku dynasty, Suryavamsha, Raghukula. He had three queens, Kaushalya, Sumitra, and Kekeyi. Kaushalya was the eldest. Even though he was extremely powerful, he was so powerful that he would even assist the demigods in heaven fight the demons. There have been some very extraordinary kings who are called upon by the Devatas occasionally. Please help us. So this is very, very extraordinary. Normally in front of Devatas, we are nothing. We are like mosquitoes in front of us. So we are so helpless. But there have been very, very extraordinary kings, and Dashrath was one amongst them. Muchukunda was another such king who was assisting the Devatas. Arjuna has also at times assisted the Devatas. So there have been some kings who have been so extraordinary in their valor that the Devatas in their conflict against the Asuras have used their services as a seva, and they have done as a seva, not as for hire mercenary, not that kind of a. So anyway, Dashrath was very, very powerful, and he was victorious in all directions. But in spite of everything and all success, he did not have any children. So he was advised to perform a yajna, to have children, and he engaged his son-in-law, Rishyashringa Rishi. Rishyashringa he had a daughter, Shanta, whose husband was Rishyashringa. That's a very interesting story, but it's a very long story. We'll not go into that. Rishyashringa, who was a sage with the horns of a deer, performed this yajna. They performed the Ashwamedha yajna, and they also performed the Putra Kameshti yajna. At the end of the yajna, divine personality comes, the bowl of sweet rice, and he says that please distribute this amongst your queens. And various portions are made, and I'm going to go through this very quickly. Otherwise, there are so many details to cover. But through the grace of that particular Payasam Prasad, sweet rice, 4 sons were born. Maharaj, Sri Ram was the eldest, Bharat, Lakshman, Shatrugna. So Ramchandra was the eldest. Ram and Lakshman were very fond of each other, and Bharat and Shatrugna were fond of each other. They would always be together. Now, the interesting thing to note is, even though these 4 are brothers, all 4 of them are actually the Supreme Lord. They're all various expansions of the Supreme Lord. They're described in different ways in different scriptures. But we generally, based on the Bhagavad, we accept them as the Chaturvyuha. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Lord Ramchandra being Vasudev, and so on and so forth. So all 4 are God, but as we have discussed, in many roles, even incarnations of God take the role of a servant, of a bigger manifestation of God. And the ultimate only master, who is the servant of no one, is Krishna. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sakala Kritya. But anyway, that is only half truth. Half truth in the sense that even though Krishna doesn't need to serve anybody, he becomes the servant of his devotees, especially Radharani and others. But anyway, that's a different topic. So Lord Ram and the three brothers grew up in Ayodhya. And in due course, when they grew up, eventually it came to the time when Lord Ramchandra was to be coronated. Now, there are many details and many other pastimes, so of course I cannot go through all of them. So when it came for time for Ram's coronation, the public were so eager that Ramchandra should become the king that even while Dasharath was still the king and even when Ram was still very young, there was a lot of discussion in the public. When will Dasharath go and when Ram will come? That was the popularity of Ram, even though Dasharath was so extraordinary. So much so that Dasharath started feeling, am I such a bad king that he started asking Sumanta, why people want me to go? So Sumanta had to explain to Dasharath, no, there's no problem with you, but the problem is Ram is so good. Ram is so super excellent. So anyway, it was decided that Ramchandra will become the king. And it seemed like this is a story, which is going into a lived happily ever after. And then the twist came. The twist came in the form of Manthara, who was a dasi of Kaikeyi, poisoning the mind of Kaikeyi, telling her that if Ramachandra becomes the king, your son Bharat will not become, he will remain a servant to Ram and you will be treated like a maid servant. So she poisoned her mind. Actually, Kaikeyi was very, very loving towards Ram, but because of the poisoning of Manthara, her intelligence became bewildered. Bad association. And Manthara encouraged her that, you remember, long back when you had assisted Dasharath in a war, he had given you this benediction that you can ask any two boons whenever you want. So you can now ask for these boons. And what are those boons? That instead of Ram, Bharat should become the king and Ramchandra should be banished to the forest for 14 years. So when this whole episode happened, Bharat and Shatrughna were away at Kaikeyi's Maika. And Ram's coronation was going to take place and they were going to come over and Kaikeyi puts this condition to Dasharath and Dasharath is absolutely distraught. He tries all logic and reason to try to convince Kaikeyi, but Kaikeyi is absolutely unwilling to budge. The Acharyas explain that actually it's not that Kaikeyi herself, because externally it seems she's very cruel, but she was facilitating the higher Lila of the Lord, because unless the Lord went to the forest and did so many other things, it would not lead to the unfolding of the pastimes, which will eventually lead to the destruction of Rama. So Kaikeyi was, playing that very difficult role, the pastime. So sometimes it's not always that, those who are playing mischievous roles are actually mischievous. Sometimes they're just playing certain roles in the pastimes to serve the Lord in a particular way. Anyway, Ramchandra didn't complain at all. The ideal son wanting to keep the word of his father, even though the father was unwilling to instruct him like that, understanding the situation, he willingly decided to go to the forest. Lakshman said, I will also go. Sita said, wherever you are, I also must be there. So Ram, Lakshman and Sita went to the forest. In fact, when Ram, Lakshman and Sita were going to the forest, The whole kingdom started walking with Sita and Ram along with Sumanta, their minister. And Kaikeyi became so worried. Oh, the whole kingdom is walking away. So what will my Bharat rule? Because there's a kingdom here. But the whole Praja is going away with Ram. She was very concerned. But eventually Ramchandra asked Sumanta that should all go back. Anyway, many wonderful episodes happened. The Lord traveled from that place onwards. He asked all the. Actually, at night, I think he left, and all of them, Sumanta and others, were sleeping. The Lord left. He went to Prayag alone. Alone means just with Lakshman and Sita Devi. And there he met Guha, the forest king, with whom he made friendship. Very nicely, Guha served Lord Ramchandra in a very nice. Lord Ramchandra, Sita and Lakshman had already given up all royal apparel and decorations. They were wearing simple barks of trees. And it was very painful for Lakshman to see how Lord Ramchandra was leading such an austere life. In fact, at one point, Guha requests Ramchandra and Sita Devi to rest, and he says, this soft grass you can rest, because he's a forest dweller. And Lakshman is so pained to see that particular situation where he sees that his Lord was on the softest of beds, has to lie on grass. That being so distraught, he vowed that for the entire 14 years, I will not sleep. So that was the kind of service attitude that Lakshman had. Extreme service attitude. Anyways, the Lord eventually crossed the river. He went to the other side, leaving Guha behind. After he went to the other side, then he proceeded towards the place which is known as Chitrakoot. So the Lord performed various wonderful pastimes at Chitrakoot. It is said that when the Lord was in Chitrakoot, Chitrakoot is a very beautiful place. There is a beautiful mountain known as the Kamagiri. Many beautiful sages, many pure sages would live there. This beautiful forest of Kamagiri is said to be very, very sacred. In fact, the devotees of Ramchandra, just like we circumambulate Govardhan, the devotees of Ramchandra circumambulate the Kamagiri at Chitrakoot. And Chitrakoot is not very far from Ayodhya. So when the Lord Ram was residing at Chitrakoot, it is said many residents of Ayodhya would come there to Chitrakoot to meet Lord Ramchandra. Lord Ramchandra was very upset. I am supposed to be in exile. What is this? You are coming and visiting me here. This is not proper. Lord Ramchandra decided to move camp. So quietly the Lord disappeared from Chitrakoot region. And then he went further down. And then the Lord came into an area which is known as the Dandaka Aranya. So a lot of interesting pastimes happened at Dandakaranya. And I'll mention a few because there are so many things to mention at Dandakaranya. One interesting thing which is good to mention is that in Dandakaranya also there were many, many great sages. It is said that many of these great sages, when they saw Lord Ramchandra, because the Lord Ramchandra is the epitome of beauty. He is so attractive. That they were so attracted by the spiritual beauty of Ramchandra that they wanted to serve Ramachandra in a spiritual form as the Lord's consorts. in the Madhurya Ras. So the Lord Ramchandra could understand the desire of their heart, and the Lord always fulfills the desires of his pure devotees. But he told all these sages, in this lifetime meaning this incarnation, I am Maryada Purushottama Ram, and I am Ek Patni, only one consort. So I am unable to fulfill your desire, exchange ras, spiritual ras with you in the form of, in the Madhurya Lila. So he granted them a blessing that when the Lord would reappear as Krishna Chandra in Dwapara, that these sages would get the opportunity to be born as gopis and be attached to the Lord in Madhurya Ras. So there were 60,000 sages, I think around 60,000 if I'm not wrong, of Dandakaranya who became gopis. So we have to understand that the gopis, of course, apart from those who came from the spiritual world, many of these gopis were great sages who came from Ram Lila also. So these gopis may seem very simple ladies from an external level, but they are either Nitya Siddhas from the spiritual world, or many of them are great self-realized, evolved sages who have come to serve the Lord. Anyway, so that is one pastime which happened in Dandakaranya. Also, soon after, there were other pastimes. Lord Ramchandra dealt with so many Rakshasas. Just to quickly mention that actually I've skipped so many pastimes in the middle, but maybe I should mention just one or two. So rewind, because I think it would not be correct to skip them. Which is that when Lord Ramchandra became around 8-9 years old, Vishwamitra Muni came to Ayodhya. Vashishta was the Kulaguru. Vishwamitra came and Vishwamitra said that, I need help, the demons are troubling me when I'm doing the yajna. So I need help. So Dasharatha said, yes, come, let's go, I'm ready. I don't want your help. I want your son, Ram. Oh, he's 8 years old. What help he can give? You don't worry, I'm coming. I don't want you, I want Ram. So he insisted, and then Vashishta told Dasharatha. So Vishwamitra told Dasharatha that you don't know who your sons are. I know, so I'm taking them. Anyway, so on the pretext of this, Vishwamitra became the trainer in martial arts for Ram and Lakshman. And the Lord actually performed many, many beautiful pastimes. And as a part of the travels with Vishwamitra, eventually they come to Janakpuri. And that is where the Swayamvar of Sita is going on. Sita is very, very young. I do not recollect how old she was, but I think Lord Ramchandra, if I'm not wrong, was around 13, 14, around there when he got married. Sita was much younger. I don't remember what age, but I had heard maybe even 8, 9 or something like that. So anyway, Lord Ramchandra was relatively tall. One interesting thing about Sita Devi's Swayamvar, I want to mention that Dashrath Maharaj had the Shiva Dhanu, the bow of Lord Shiva, which was so heavy and so powerful that it would take 8,000 men to carry it and take one step with it, and then they had to keep it down because they'll be so tired, you cannot lift it anymore. That's how powerful this Shiv Dhanusha was. So one day the Shiv Dhanusha was kept in an altar where it was being worshipped regularly. Sita Devi was playing, and little Sita, probably I don't know how old she was, maybe 4 or 5 years or even around there. She was playing with her friends and she wanted to reach out to one flower on top of a tree, and she just picked up this bow with her left hand and used it to pluck the flower. So that bow, which took 8,000 men to just lift, She picked with her left hand and used it to pluck flowers and kept it back. So when Dasharatha saw that, he was like super shocked. He realized that his daughter is not ordinary. Sita was anyway not born in the normal way. Sita Devi was found under the earth as he was plowing the field. So that's why Sita Devi is considered the daughter of Devi. So after having gone through that episode, Dasharatha Maharaj realized that Sita Devi is not ordinary, and that's why he decided that if my daughter is so powerful, then her husband must be at least as powerful. At least he must be able to lift the bow and string it. Because if he's not as powerful, if he's weak, if Sita can lift like this, just imagine if Sita Devi embraces her husband, what will happen? He will get crushed to pulp. That was his reasoning. So at least he must be able to lift this bow and string it. So that's how the condition came. That whoever lifts the bow and strings it can marry Sita. So anyway, we know that story in detail, how so many of them tried, including Ravana, all of them failed. Then when Janak Maharaj said that there are no Kshatriyas qualified at that time, Vishwamitra asked Ramchandra to show his valor. And then Ramchandra, without any effort, picked up the bow and strung it, and after that he pulled it and he broke it. Obviously, much to the delight of Janaka as well as Sita. So it is said Sita Devi came with the garland. She wanted to put that garland around the neck of Ramchandra. Ramchandra being a Kshatriya, Sita Devi was quite short as compared to Ramchandra at that age. Ramchandra was not willing to bend down as Kshatriya in front of Sita. So Lakshman, who was there, he saw this very awkward situation. Sita is trying to reach Ramchandra's neck to put the garland. Ramchandra is standing straight. So how to solve this impasse? So Lakshmanji, being very witty and always ready to serve Sitaram, he fell at the feet of Ramchandra. Ramchandra bent down to lift up Lakshman, who had fallen at the feet. So Sita Devi immediately took the opportunity when Ramchandra had bent down and put the garland around his neck. So the Guru is like that, he's always expert. Shiradika Madhava Yorapara Madhurya Lila. Expert in facilitating and serving the divine pastimes of Radha Krishna, Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayan. So anyway, this very beautiful marriage, Sita Kalyanam, happened. And then Sita ji, of course, came to Ayodhya. And then after that, we have already narrated so many episodes. So anyway, we were in Dandakaranya. So we go and switch back to Dandakaranya. So many asuras were killed. Actually, when the Lord was in the forest, in those days, forests were not just wild animals. There were many very, very powerful asuras. Cannibalistic asuras. So the Lord killed Tataka. He had, an episode where he fought with the 14,000 augurs headed by Maricha and Subahu. He single-handedly killed. That's a very interesting episode. I don't have time, otherwise I would have narrated. It's a very, very sweet episode. Anyway, if I go into that, it will take 10 minutes just to narrate that very sweet episode. So, Lord Ramchandra killed the 14,000 asuras without even one drop of sweat appearing on his forehead. Playfully. 14,000. And then the Lord shot one arrow towards Maricha. He didn't kill Maricha because the Lord knew that he had some other purpose to do in his continuing pastimes. The Lord shot an arrow at Maricha, and Maricha was thrown far away, some thousands of miles. on an island, the ocean. They said he was thrown into the ocean. So actually he fell down into an island in the ocean. So he stayed there for some time, and I think once he went there, he was not interested in coming back here. He realized that I better stay away from this Ramchandra. That guy, that person is really, really powerful. So it is said he stayed there. Then he had children there. And the children of Maricha are known as the Maurichas. Maurichas. So in today's time, that Maurichas has become Mauritius. So Mauritius is the place where Maricha was sent to, and he had his family and descendants there in Mauritius. Anyway, so that interesting episode happened. Not much later than that, there was this episode of Shurpanka, who was roaming around the forest, and she sees Ram and Lakshman. She gets attracted because their beauty is unparalleled. We know the episode of how she tries to approach Ram and Lakshman, how they play with her and tease her, and eventually, when Shurpanka tries to attack Sita Devi under the order of Ramchandra, Shurpanka's nose is cut off by Lakshman. Screaming in terror, Shurpanka goes back to to Ravana, her brother, and tells a false story. Actually, I went there because I wanted to get Sita for you. Actually, she went there because for herself, she wanted to sport with Ram and Lakshman. But she pretends as if actually she went for Seva, Ravan Seva. Ravan for you, this beautiful girl. Anyway, she says, I went for you, but see, this is what they did for me. And then she describes Sita's beauty so vividly to Ravana that Ravana becomes very lusty. And Ravana decides, cover up his lust. He says, actually, I will go and kidnap Sita. Only because they have insulted you. So this whole matter gets really, really ugly from this Shurpanka episode. Because before that, there is no real conflict between the descendants of Dashrath and Ravana. There are some interesting background stories between Dashrath and Ravana, but we're not going to that. So we know how the story after that, Ravana comes. He asks Maricha's help. He says, I want to plot together with you. Maricha says, yes, I can help you anytime. I'm willing. Because deceit is my nature. But whom do we have to deceive? So he says, oh, there is this in the Vanvas, there is Ram. So when he hears the name of Ram, Maricha says, I am happy in Mauritius. Why you are disturbing me? And I'm having a good time on this beach island. Why you are calling my death? One arrow from him and I flew thousands of miles. And I dare not come there back. But Ravana is insistent. He tells Maricha, you have only two options. Either you help me or I will only kill you. So Maricha understands this is my destiny, no choice. He knows he's going to die, but he thinks better I die at the hands of Ram than die at the hands of Ravana. So anyway, we know all the pastimes of how Ravana comes there and how first Maricha comes there in the form of the golden deer. Sita Devi becomes attracted. She says, I want this deer. So Ram says, okay, I will go and get it. She says, I want to take this deer back with me to Ayodhya later because it's a golden deer. I want to take it back to Ayodhya. So, okay, you go and capture it. So Ram says, okay, I'll go. Lakshman knows. Lakshman says, this is not an ordinary deer. This must be some illusory magic. Ram says, don't worry. Even if it's an illusory magic, even if it's a demon, I will kill it. There's nothing for me to worry. So it's not that Ram and Lakshman did not know. But as the pastime unfolds, anyway, Ram goes and then Lakshman is guarding, and how Maricha pretends. He calls out in the voice of Ramachandra, Oh, Lakshman, save me, Sita, save me. As he is killed by Ramchandra. Sita Devi forces Lakshman to follow the voice and help Ramchandra, even though Lakshman tells very clearly to Sita Devi that this is a trick, but she doesn't listen. When you don't listen to Guru, this is what happens. Lakshman is Guru Tattva. So Sita got cheated. Eventually, as we all know, Ravana came there, dressed as a bhikshu, and finally he abducted Sita and he. Eventually, Sita and Ramchandra come back and discover Sita is missing, and Ramchandra is so distraught in spiritual separation. And they start searching everywhere. Where is Sita? Where is Sita? Then they come across Jatayu, who tried to stop Ravana as he was flying away with Sita. And from Jatayu, they understand that, this is what has happened, that they went in the southern direction. So Jatayu has performed the supreme sacrifice. And Lord Ramchandra, Jatayu has been actually a friend of Dasharath. He's like the father's, he's like a fatherly figure from Ramchandra's perspective. And Ramchandra, to honor the sacrifice of Jatayu, performs the last rites for Jatayu. And then he continues to proceed. But Ramchandra doesn't know how and where to find Sita. So as they are roaming around trying to find, they come across a mountain, the Kabanda mountain. They said when they come to the Kabanda mountain, was actually a Gandharva in the past life who was cursed and who had become a mountain. When Lord Ramchandra shoots an arrow and delivers Kabanda from the curse, Kabanda gives more information to Ramchandra about what has happened and that he needs to go to meet. He needs the help of Sugriva and Hanuman to actually find Sita. So Kabanda guides them to Sugriva and Hanuman. So at Hampi, in further south, the Karnataka area, there's this beautiful episode how Rama and Lakshmana meet up first with Hanuman and then with Sugriva. There are many beautiful episodes there, but we're not going to those details. Ramchandra requests Sugriva to help him to find Sita. The pact is reached that Sugriva, who has been driven away from his kingdom by his brother Vali, that Ramchandra should help him to kill Vali and retrieve his wife, who has been kidnapped by Vali. And in return, Sugriva will help Ramchandra to find and recover Sita. So that's the pact between Sugriva and Lord Shri Ramchandra. So Ramchandra, but before this pact is made, Sugriva is doubting. Vali is so powerful. Vali was so powerful. Vali was even more powerful than Ravan. Once Ravan tried to act smart with Vali, and Vali just caught Ravan in the clasp of his hand, and he went around doing his daily duties with Ravana under his tight grip. After that, Ravan never bothered Vali. So Vali was extraordinarily powerful, and he had a very special benediction as well. So he was asking, do you think you can really kill Vali? He said, oh, you doubt my strength? And then he shot an arrow. He cut through 7 tala trees, went around a mountain, then came back into Ramchandra's school. If you recollect, when we discussed, I think the last class or last to last class, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, Lord Chaitanya came to the same place, saw those same 7 tal trees which were cut by Ramchandra, touched all of them, and all of them were delivered and disappeared. So Ramchandra had originally cut those trees, Treta, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered those trees in Kali Yuga. Anyway, he was convinced, Sugriva was convinced, and the pact was made. Vali was killed by Ramchandra, but even after Vali was killed and Sugriva got the kingdom, Sugriva became so busy in enjoying the kingdom that he forgot about his promise. And finally, when he was threatened by Lakshman and woken up out of his lethargy, finally said, okay, now we must search. Anyway, so to quickly move forward, Lord Ram, Sugriva dispatched Vanaras in different parts of the world to search for Sita. They searched practically all possible places, and most of the parties who had gone out came back without any news of Sita, except for the party which had gone south, where Hanuman, Angad, and a few others, Jambavan and others were there. So as we all know, that they were the party who actually became successful. And part of their success was that when they came to the southern part of India, they also came across Sampati, the brother of Jatayu, who also guided them towards where Ravana was, where Lanka was. And he also confirmed that Sita is there. And then there was this beautiful episode of how Hanumanji jumps across the ocean, goes to Lanka, creates such a havoc in Lanka, and comes back having shown the prowess. And he tells Ravana, all this, your whole Lanka that has been burned, just imagine one monkey can do this. And all other monkeys in Ramchandra's army are equal or more powerful than me. So Hanuman said. And there are millions of them. They are all going to come towards Lanka if you don't give Sita back. But anyway, Ravan was not going to be convinced with any logic. Practically most of Lanka was sinful except for Vibhishan. Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, they were three brothers. Kumbhakarna was predominantly in the mode of ignorance. Ravan was in the mode of passion predominantly. And Kumbhakarna was, Vibhishan was in the mode of goodness predominantly. Vibhishan was a great devotee of the Lord. He was a great devotee of Ram. He would chant Ram Nam. In fact, Vibhishan in his own home, he had Tulsi in front of his home. He had written Ram Nam all over the walls. So one day Ravan, he came to the house of Vibhishan. And he was shocked. What is this? Every wall, every place, Ram, 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 Ram. How dare you write the name of my enemy on every wall? So Vibhishan said, no, 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 no. He was very smart. He was very clever. This Ram is not Ramchandra. This Ram is Ra is Ravan and Ma is Mandodari. So I'm writing actually you and your wife's name on my walls. Ravan became very happy. Oh, wow. This is my great fan. So Ravan got so excited by this Ram. He said, oh, let this Ram be written all over my kingdom. So this is how the expert spiritual master, tricks living entities to somehow or the other chant the name of Ram, even in the most difficult of situations. Anyway, Hanumanji burned most of Lanka except for Vibhishan's home. Hanumanji, of course, visited Sita Devi, and he showed Lord Ramchandra's ring. Sita Devi was very happy. Hanumanji was willing to bring Sita back straight away. Sita Devi said, no, don't spoil the story. The story is Ram has to come and kill Ravan. That's the excitement. I know you are powerful enough to take me back, but to take me back is not the thing. Because if that was the story, I wouldn't have gone only. No, why we have to do all this big episode? Of course, she didn't say like that, but she said, no, you go back. I cannot touch another male. I cannot sit on your back. Ramchandra will come. You ask Ramchandra to come and see him. So Ravana was so attracted to Sita Devi out of lust. He was not able to give up in spite of so much advice by so many people, including Vibhishan, that he will be destroyed. Anyway, as we know, eventually Ramchandra comes. the southern tip of India, as this news is given, along with Sugriva and all the others, and millions of Vanaras. And these Vanaras are not fighting, even though we show many times with maces, all the monkeys. Actually, perhaps Hanuman had a mace and maybe a few others, but most of the Vanaras were not fighting with maces. They neither had swords, nothing. They would fight with trees and stones and rocks. That was what the Vanar Sena was. Very crude from an external perspective. So then this very interesting and beautiful battle happened between Ravan and Sri Ramchandra. We know how the wonderful bridge was built using Ram Nam. And finally, one by one, as the various Asuras were killed, Indrajit was killed in a very unique way. A very beautiful episode of Hanumanji bringing the Sanjeevani booty when Lakshmanji fell unconscious. So many beautiful episodes across the war. Then the wonderful episode of Kumbhakarna getting killed. Eventually, Ravana was left alone. All his soldiers were killed, and finally he decided that it was one-on-one with Ram directly. And in that most glorious of battles, as we have all heard, initially Ramchandra was chopping off the heads of Ravan one after another, but Ravan was not dying. The heads were popping up back again and again and again and again. And finally, Vibhishan tells Ramchandra that he cannot be killed like that. The secret of Ravana's immortality is the Amrit Kalash that he is storing in his Navi, in his navel. So target that. So on that advice, a Brahmastra was used. The Brahmastra was used to hit the navel and dry up the Amrit. And then Ravana was killed with the arrow in the chest. So in this very, very wonderful way, Lord Ramchandra managed to kill Ravana. And there are many, many beautiful sub-stories around this also. But then eventually, of course, we know after this, actually even before the war happened, Vibhishan was coronated as the king of Lanka. Lord Ram handed over Lanka to Vibhishan, took Sita. Sita went through the Agni Pariksha. After that, Sita Ramchandra came back to Ayodhya. First, they rescued Bharata, who was just about to enter fire. And because he was ruling the kingdom on behalf of Ramchandra with the Paduka of Sri Ram. So that's another very, very beautiful episode. And then finally, as we all know, eventually Ramchandra was coronated. And then he resumed as the king of Ayodhya. Of course, there are other subsequent pastimes which are related to the Uttar Ramayana, of how Sita Devi was banished and all that, but we're not going to that today. It's already 10 p.m. So in conclusion, we have just touched some of these key episodes, and the purpose of my touching the episodes is just to invoke remembrance of these episodes, because I'm sure all of you have heard most of these pastimes, if not all. So let us meditate on these very beautiful pastimes. Our prayer that just like Ram with his arrow destroyed all the bad things in the heart of Ravana. Similarly, the Ram Nam, Krishna Nam, destroy all the inauspicious things in our heart and purify us and make us qualified to be engaged in the service of Sitaram. And the Ramayana is replete with examples of ideal servants, whether we talk about Lakshmanji, Adi Guru, whether we have the example of Hanumanji, such an exemplary servant in the Dasya move, or we talk about Bharat, also epitomized seva in separation. These are all very, very wonderful examples for us sadhakas as to how one must be diligent and fixed in one's service to the Supreme Lord, in spite of all inconveniences and difficulties. And in that way, we attract the love and mercy of the Supreme Personality. So thank you very much. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. So quickly, in 5 minutes, if there is any comment or question, you can take. Please forgive me for the very super fast Ramayana overview. Yes, anybody has
Hare
any?
Krishna Prabhu, please accept humble obeisance.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Prabhu, I just want to ask a question regarding, like, I mean, we know the Supreme Lord knows everything. So then, I mean, when we say that he didn't know where
Your voice is
Sita
not
was,
coming.
and
Your,
so 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 the Supreme Lord wants, like, to empower those who wanted to
sorry, you're not audible, Mataji, properly. I don't know whether it's just me or others also, but your voice is not coming through. Oh, I think we lost her. Okay. Meanwhile, anyone else wants to ask anything? Same.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna Prabhu.
yes, Haribo.
Prabhu, I just want to make a comment. I think I heard in one of the class, because if you hear the story of Ramayana, what I mean, I mean, in terms of the what is that standards that is what set by Lord Ram. I think is that what is that some of us. I mean, not to say not to say some of us. I think that most of us will not be able to do any kind of thing, because even to imagine some of the what is that standards that what is it sets. So I what heard in one of the class. I mean I can't remember the full thing. What they analyze is that as a practicing devotee, if what is the lessons that we can learn is that, like, you have a picture of your family. I am not sure whether you have heard this point or not. When you have a picture of your family, when you what put it in the frame, and you what is put it in the wall, okay, that is how you should analyze the what is that standards as kind of what is that set by Lord Ram. While uh, I think Mahabharata, the what is that lessons that we kind of learn is that that is what in what our what normal course of life we will experience. That means, in other words, it is kind to say that the what is that teachings of what is the Lord Ram. It is as you were said, such a what high what the standard and so on. So if you want to do an analogy, it's like your family picture. You want to put it in the frame. That's how you kind of what is that analyze it, because most of the what is that standards that he what said, we can't even imagine that we'll be able to kind of even think about it. But I can't remember the actual thing. That was what the comparison I mean it was made. I don't know, just to share one point how we analyze, because if you see, like, Lord Ram is perfect. Everything he does is perfect. Everything he says is perfect. So when we analyze back to our as a practicing devotee, we'll be thinking, is this possible for me to even think, even you don't have to do, even to think that I will go through such kind of things. It's just to share a point.
Yeah. So Lord Ramchandra is The examples he has set are benchmarks. So the benchmarks are the standard of perfection. So these are standards of perfection are more directional for us rather than they may not necessarily be possible for 99% of us to even come close to, but at least they are directionally guiding us, correct? Just like when we see the sky or the stars, we say, oh, I want to jump as high so that I can touch the moon, but can we actually touch the moon or the stars? But at least we know directionally we have to go upwards. So of course, when the Lord performs these pastimes, he sets the topmost example. So we should not be discouraged that we cannot reach there, but we have to understand that this is what we should aspire for, at least aspirationally. So we will, even when we hear about the gopis and some of these pure devotees, we want to follow their instructions. We cannot imitate them. May never be able to become equal to some of these great souls. But that is not our aspiration either. Our desire is to be guided by their mood, guided by their spirit. We may never become equal to them in their intensity, in their depth, in that quality, but at least we can be in that category, at least somewhere. Even if we become 2% of that, that is not. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that is true. Okay, anything else? Anand Sundari Mataji, you are back. You want to complete your question? We couldn't hear you well earlier.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Charan Lakshmi Mataji. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I want to know how many avatars does Lord Ramachandra carries, Prabhu?
How many avatars?
Yes, Prabhu.
What does that mean? He's one avatar, right? Ramchandra
Yes.
is one incarnation.
Yes. Does he carry some other avatars?
What do you mean carries avatars? In Ramayana, as I mentioned, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna are also avatars, right? As a part of Ramayana. So is Parshuramji. He's also an avatar of the Lord. But they're all performing different roles. But Ramchandra is one avatar.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah? Correct? Yes, he is not carrying avatars in the sense that Krishna is the reservoir of all avatars. Not in that sense. Of course, in one sense, we can say if there are emanations from a personality, we can say in theory that those incarnations emanate from him and are contained within him. So in that sense, one could say, yeah.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Anand Sundari Mataji, thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, sorry, the reception something, the disturbance.
No problem.
So, no, that my question is that, like, when we say that the Lord is all knowing, so when we say that the Lord didn't know where Mother Sita was, so can we understand that is because the Lord wanted to give the opportunity for all those who wanted to take part in the pastime? That's why.
Yes. So the beauty of Ramchandra or the Supreme Lord is, of course, the Lord in such cases often uses his Yogmaya potency so that his pastimes may unfold in a particular way. So he sometimes will cover himself up. He knows, but he covers himself up because he wants his pastimes to unfold in a particular way. So that's why he knows but doesn't know, right? We cannot understand this. But it's also, we should understand that the Lord, because he is thoroughly renounced. So even though for him, he is the Supreme Personality of God, does he need anybody's help to get Sita back? The whole cosmic manifestation is part of his Vishwarupa. He can just kill Ravana like this. And of course, Sita couldn't even have been captured in the first place. So the beauty of Ramchandra is that he has enacted all these pastimes in a particular way because he wants through this very beautiful katha to attract our hearts, to make it very sweet and attractive, to give an opportunity for many devotees to render service, to create such beautiful pastimes of interaction of the Lord with his devotees that it reveals many beautiful lessons about spiritual life and bhakti to all of us. So this is the reason the Lord does. If the Lord just has said, okay, I'll sit here, Ravana die, Sita come next to me, everything would have just happened, right? What more is needed? But if that would have happened, it wouldn't have been, we wouldn't be sitting here excited and discussing, Ramayana. So the Lord is full of all potencies, but he manifests Lila in a particular way to attract our hearts. And that is a display of his opulence of renunciation, because even though he is fully capable, he is giving the credit to his devotees. That is Ram. Krishna also could have killed, right, everybody, but he gave credit to the Pandavas. He told Arjuna, you take credit. I have already killed them, but you become instrument and you finish all of them. So that is the nature of the Lord. He's so affectionate. He wants to give opportunity to all of us to serve. And same thing currently, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can deliver everybody. But he's saying, oh, I cannot do it. What can I do alone? I need help to distribute the fruits. Really? Doesn't he? He wants to create some excuse to engage us in his service. If we engage in assisting him by assisting our spiritual masters and Prabhupada, then somehow we are also given a share of the credit and receive his blessings. Correct?
Right. Thank you, bro.
Okay. Thank you. I need to drop off now. I have another meeting. So please have a wonderful Ram Navami. And this Saturday, we may not have a class, but I will confirm that in the next few days. Okay, because there are a lot of festivities. But I'll let you know. Thank you very much. Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Krishna
Hare
Prabhu, thank you
Krishna,
very
thank
much.
you, Prabhu.
thank you.